Time to pour one out for the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. Almost assuredly their last game of the season. Is there any way to bet Game 5? Yes, there is. We've got a best bet on them and the Celtics coming up. And how about this 19-1-1 under trend for the Atlanta Braves? We'll be touching on that as well. But Mark Zinno, we're going to start in the NBA playoffs in Oklahoma City. Critical Game 5. I think this is the biggest game in most people's minds on the Wednesday slate as they host the Dallas Mavericks, series tied 2-2. Any angles that you're seeing that you'd like to share with the people, side or total down at 213? Are we going to have a game where both of these teams actually shoot well? I know we had one in Game 2, but the two games in Dallas, ugly shooting all around.
Yeah, how about no? I don't know when either one of these teams is going to play their best game yet. I don't know if it's going to happen at any point in time. Somehow somebody's going to have to win this series. And look, I took it in the teeth on Monday night trying to take the over, thinking we hit the bottom of the market with that 213 number that was out there as far as the total was concerned for the game. And we're sitting at the same number again. Oddsmakers probably a little bit hesitant to drop this thing down even lower, even though despite the fact both teams barely scored 100 to 96, the final of Game 4. To bring this thing back down into a less than 210 range would be maniacal. And if they did, that's what I was kind of hoping, BP, is that they would have, because I would have jumped all over the over. But I still kind of lean towards these teams eventually snapping out of it. You know, Game 2 in and of itself was the best game that Dallas played. Obviously, we see them score 119 points, but it was 47% from the field, above 48% from three. The only thing they shot really bad was from the free throw line. They only shot 70%. And they won the game pretty handily and pretty convincingly. And the best game for Oklahoma City, really, in reality, was Game 1 when they scored 117 and they blew Dallas out. So we're waiting for both of these teams to put it together. They seem to be able to push each other and keep things tight, but no one's making shots. And I would have not have thought, if anything, that this was going to be a highly defensive series. I would have thought offense would have ruled the day here. But again, I have to feel like shooting aggression, positive aggression, is coming for both these teams.
Yeah, Oklahoma City was a lot better in the first two games at home, as you touched on there. 117, 110 points. They scored games 1 and 2. Dallas, for what it's worth, 13-3 against the number this year when they're off a straight-up loss as a favorite. They, of course, were favored in Game 4. Very interesting. Both games in Dallas, we saw the winning team come back from a double-digit second-half deficit there, Mark. So that is the big one. I think I'll be honest with you. I think the total is too low. I think eventually we're going to get it. I think I was wrong. I made a mistake in the last game. I said Oklahoma City team total over. I should have just taken Oklahoma City. But the Thunder, Mark, look at their season long numbers. They shoot over 50% at home for the year. They shoot 39% from three at home. The last three games, Oklahoma City from behind the arc, they're at like 30%. They were 33% in games 2 and 3, and then they were 26% last game, 7 of 27.
This is the number one three-point shooting team during the regular season in the NBA at 38.9%. And they can't buy a bucket from beyond the arc at this point in time. It is there's got to be some positive regression coming in that department alone, because after Game 1, BP, where they shot, let me just pull it up here, when they shot 45% from three. They've done nothing but go down, down, down in the next three games. If Oklahoma City is hitting threes, they're not beatable. Not by Dallas, because Dallas doesn't have the defense to do it. And I don't know that they could play catch-up against an Oklahoma City defense that has proven it's pretty darn good. So unless Dallas is going to shoot the lights out, and I wouldn't bank on them doing that, I'll tell you routinely very much that if Oklahoma City can make close to 35, 36% of their threes, they should win and cover this game.
Okay, that is something to look for tonight. By the way, both Mark Zinno and I coming off 2-0 Tuesdays. We'll be talking about that in just a little bit. But you want to talk about an under trend, my friend. How about in Major League Baseball what the Atlanta Braves are doing? 19-1-1 under their last 21 games. Yes, 19 unders, 1 over, 1 push. They are playing the Chicago Cubs here on Wednesday, wrapping that series up. And look, the Cubs have not scored a run yet in the first two games. of this series. They've lost 2-0. They've lost 7-0. Kind of hard to win when you don't score any runs. Just 8 hits and 3 walks. So the offense has been non-existent for the Cubs. You look at the 2 starting pitchers tonight. Morton has been great. He's got a 1.35 ERA, 0.80 whip his last 3 starts. True to form, all 3 of them have gone under. But you know me, Mark, I'm a stubborn man. You've got this Braves offense, which it woke up last night with 7 runs, right? That was their highest scoring game in quite some time. I realize if they've got a lead, they're only coming up to bat 8 times, and we may lose that 9th at bat. But I'm jumping in front of this trend tonight because that's what I do sometimes. It's curious how the total's 8.5. I think it's still under the key number of 9, which I like. Yep. But you look at the season-long numbers. The Braves are scoring 5 runs per game at home still. The Cubs give up over 5 runs per game on the road. If the Cubs can get to Morton, and you know better than most living in the Atlanta area, Morton's prone to a bad start. If the Cubs can get to Morton for, let's say, 2-3 runs, I think we're in great shape here. My half of the double play over 8.5 Cubs Braves because I am a crazy person.
I will give you an alternate way to play this. Cubs team total over 3.5. Because look, it's 100% correlated. If the Cubs don't get to 4, it might be hard for this game to go over. That's just the way it is. Look, the Braves have not really been scoring a ton as of late. You mentioned last night them snapping out of it, so there is that. But I look at this and I go, I wonder how much they're going to be able to shut the Cubs down for a 3rd straight game. Like, just baseball's, as John Sterling would say, Susan, that's just baseball. You can't shut a team out 3 days in a row. It just doesn't happen. So
I agree.
I look at it and I go that there's a good chance here with a 3.5 number. I always get excited when I see a 3.5. I think the probability is high of them going over. Remember, you are facing a Braves bullpen that is very good. So they have to get to Morton, who's a very feast or famine starter. Charlie Morton is going to go 6 innings, give up 1 run, or he's going to go 5 and give up 4, and you're done. So I think, if you look at Charlie Morton's starts over the last 2 years, it's just kind of the way he is. He's an innings eater for this team. He's going to pitch into the 5th or the 6th, no matter what the score is. As long as he's not getting routinely tattooed for 7 or 8 runs, he's going to be out there, and that may be enough for the Cubs to get over 3.5 here.
Show best bet. We'll be in the NBA. We will get back to that Boston-Cleveland game in just a little bit. But Mark has a MLB look for you as well. It's a play that would have hit yesterday had you bet it on the run line as we head out to the AL West. Mark, what do you got going here?
I'm going to take the Oakland A's plus the 1.5 here against the Houston Astros, who have won the first 2 games of this series 9-2 and then 2-1 in 10 innings. I continue to find the Oakland A's to be very profitable. They continue to be undervalued because everybody expected them to be so terrible. They're a game better than the Houston Astros that they're playing tonight. Framber Valdez starts for the Astros, and yes, Framber is the color of your energy. The A's are starting Aaron Brooks, who has not made a start yet this season. He's only been a reliever, so they're going to go with a bullpen game here. And I think in general, this is a spot here for the A's to be able to score some runs. The Astros have proven to me to this point they are not a minus 250 favorite better than anybody. They don't deserve to be priced like this to this point in the year. Odds makers are very slow to react, and this is more about a numbers play and the line dictating where I'm going to go here. You take the best bet in baseball that you can, which is taking the 1.5 runs. We're going to do that here with the Oakland Athletics.
Okay, so Oakland plus 1.5 and over 8.5 on Cubs Braves.
Real quick here, BP. Just looking across the baseball board as things that jump out, because I just wanted to give the people some other things that you and I talked about pre-show that seemed a little crazy, particularly the Chicago White Sox being a minus 145 favorite today against the Washington Nationals. Now, that was part of our double play yesterday for them to sweep it. They won the first half, didn't win the second. But regardless of that, what world did we enter where the White Sox are a minus 145 favorite, a minus 150 favorite against anybody?
Like, it is Patrick Corbin Day. It's Patrick Corbin Day.
The White Sox can't hit, period. Like, they're not going to score more than 4 runs. So Garrett crochet me a sweater. That is an insane price. The simple fact of the matter that the Chicago White Sox are a minus 145 favorite to me. Blows my mind away. Oh, by the way, also, New York Yankees an underdog tonight with Pablo Lopez on the mound for the Minnesota Twins, if you want to dabble in that sort of thing. And, I mean, I just, when you look at some of these numbers, how they jump out, to me, is Ranger Suarez, I know how good he's been, but minus that heavy of a favorite against a division rival in 195. And the Royals, Alec Marsh and Bryan, woo! Very low total here, but the Royals have not lost a start that Alec Marsh has made this year.
Yeah, just a couple follow-ups there. Crochet does have the best strikeout-to-walk ratio in all of baseball. And yes, the Phillies are 8-0 in Suarez start. Speaking of undefeated, speaking of perfect, that's what you and I were last night. I was 2-0. Cashed the Knicks first half and full game. Tom Thibodeau, you can keep playing those starters as long as you want, man. I like it.
I'm taking my victory lap right now for here. Because if you listened to the morning wager yesterday, you followed me on social media, on Twitter, I posted the video. I basically gave you the exact game script of how that game was going to play out. Word for word.
You did.
I told you the Knicks had to have a good defensive performance. I told you they had to keep the Pacers under 110. I told you the game was going to go under. And I leaned on the Knicks -2. And all of those things came to fruition. So giddy up for me. Victory lap. I love it when I call a game correctly and then never actually have the balls to go to the window and bet it.
Let me take my victory lap right now. I am on an 8-2 all sports run the last 5 days. And the NBA, yes, folks, has been outstanding. 26-11 run after that aforementioned 2-0 sweep last night. Long term, 89-59-2 run in the association, up 71 units. Number one in the NBA since April 1st with a 70% run. And soccer. Let's not forget about soccer. I've got an early one going Wednesday, so if you're listening to the show early, you still got some time for a best bet there. 10-2 run on the pitch. I am number one at WagerTalk, going back to the start of the domestic season with plays rated 4% or higher. So right now, at WagerTalk.com, you see right there, WT.buzz/BP. I've got two best bets, one in soccer early, one in the NBA. You could pick both of those up for $29. Mark Zinno, what do you have going on at your page?
My God, that sales pitch was as beautiful as I've ever heard out of you. I mean, in the domestic season, I'm also undefeated during the domestic season. I mean, it's what I do. I'm undefeated domestically. I keep quite the clean kitchen, and I fold the laundry very well. All right, we are on quite the run ourselves. Bounced back last night with the Denver Nuggets team total getting over here, not without a little bit of sweat, of course, but we get home. 11-5 over the last 16 in the NBA playoffs. Guys, dating all the way back to the beginning of April, a 63% run, 28-17, continuing. We're up almost 20 units in the NBA since the beginning of April. So we continue to cash tickets all the way through in the association. Of course, number one handicapper throughout the month of April in Major League Baseball. Turning it around, we get another winner last night in Major League Baseball with the Nationals winning in their first game of the doubleheader. As we continue there. So we'll be back tonight with one play in the association, one play in Major League Baseball. Jump on them right now. We continue to stay hot and cash tickets as we ride over the domestic season here for the NBA. We're still at 60% if you go all the way back to the end of January during my domestic season and continue to cash it.
All right. Look, okay. There's domestic games. There's European games. Okay, since the start of August, that's when the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, August.
Said the start of August. Like nobody knows unless they are Bundesliga's Brian Powers that the domestic season is what it's called.
They do know. They absolutely know that. People know it. I guarantee. Hey,
leave a comment below if you had any idea.
Yes, leave a comment below if you knew what I meant when I said domestic season.
God.
Yes. Yes. Let me know who you think's getting in the Europa Conference League next year, too, for the two of you that care about that. Anyway, all right. Yes, please leave a comment down below. Let us know how we're doing. Smash that like button. Give us a thumbs up. We always appreciate that. And Mark, let's go back to Boston and Cleveland. We teased this at the Open. Nobody, and I mean nobody, thinks the Cavs are going to be playing domestically at their houses, wherever. It's over after tonight. The season ends for the Cavs. But you and I spoke this morning, and we said, is there any angle we can attack this with? And for the people, we have come up with one. This is a rarity. I don't know the next time we're going to do this, but we have a third quarter bet on Cavs Celtics tonight. Why don't you enlighten all of our fine viewers on that?
Yeah, and I would just like to add before we give out the bet here that there is the injury report out there, and Karis LeVert is questionable with a knee injury, and all I got to say is it wasn't me. If you have
even though it's a knee injury, and you quoted Jeff Gillooly on the last show, but there's nothing. One has nothing to do with two there. Yes.
No, I all I could say is like Shaggy said, it wasn't me. So I think I have an alibi and plausible deniability, and I would be lying if I said I hope he doesn't play, or maybe I hope he does play and somebody buckles the other knee. I'm so very frustrated after what happened in Game 5, whatever it is. Regardless, third quarter bet here. Why? Okay, here's the logic, guys. I mean, again, somebody who laid the 8.5 with the Celtics in Game 4. I laid the 8 with the Celtics in Game 3. There's not a world where the Cavaliers are really going to win this game other than Boston forgetting how to play defense and the Cavaliers shooting the lights out like what happened in Game 2. So if we eliminate that as a realistic possibility, which I believe it is not a realistic possibility, I don't want to play Boston early because what we've seen in the last 2 games is pretty emblematic of what we always see, that it's a little bit tight in the first quarter, it's a little bit tight at the end of the first half, and laying 8.5 with the Boston Celtics through the first 24 minutes of this is a number that I'm just not appetizingly wanting to do. What typically happens when we see that, where it's a little bit tight in the first quarter and it's a little bit tight at half? By tight, I mean Boston might only be leading by 3 or 4 or 5, where they wouldn't cover that first cover number. The doors open up after halftime, and that's when Boston steamrolls the hell out of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Said, this game is ours. This series is ours. Time for you guys to go home. And they end up covering and just winning a big third quarter. The other portion of this is that if Boston ends up having a 7 or 8 point lead, the mentality is, let's get out. Let's start fast in the third quarter, build this lead up to 20, and just kill them right on the spot. So let's take advantage of the third quarter here number, pre-flop, so to speak, before the game tips off, where we know we have a static number of 4.5 here. Celtics minus 4.5 in the third quarter of this game, as I expect them to pull away. They're probably going to cover this 14.5 number, but after what happened in Game 4, I'm still a little bit sick and nauseous over the whole thing, as our good buddy Joe Ranieri watched me have a complete meltdown as the whole thing was going on. So we don't need to do that again, but we will take the Boston Celtics minus 4.5 in the third quarter, because I'll add one more note here, BP. Guess what? Okay. If they don't cover that 4.5 in the third quarter, if they're already losing at halftime, they're in deep trouble winning the game.
Yeah.
And if they have a big lead and they let them back in, guess what? They're not covering the full game anyway. So if that was the way you wanted to go and lay the 14.5, if they let them back in and cover a 4.5 number in the third quarter, you may as well consider your full game 14.5 dead.
I completely agree. It is the best angle. Show best bet. Celtics minus 4.5 third quarter. Let us know what you think of that down in the comments section. Let us know what you think about the other game as well. Oklahoma City, Dallas, and Major League Baseball as well. Again, feel free to smash that like button if you like what you hear. We're doling out the free winners Monday through Friday here on WagerTalk TV. And if you're not already subscribed, please do so. You just hit the subscribe button. It's just that simple. By the way, Shaggy, it wasn't me. The thing about that song is he keeps saying it wasn't me, but yet in the verses he lays out how it was in fact him. It's a very odd piece of songwriting, I shall say. Well, okay.
I mean, plausible deniability is everything. That's all that matters.
It wasn't me. Has that ever worked? It wasn't me. I don't know if how well that works. You know, we need to follow up to that.
Remember, to quote the great George Costanza, it's not a lie if you believe it.
And look, we believe everything we said. We promise you. He is Mark Zinno. I am Bryan Power. This is The Morning Wager. Until next time, let's catch some tickets.